All right, so I always speak across the state, and there's some certain crowds where I can just be myself, and this is definitely one of them. So last year I was a part of the Tax Watch Class 3. I had some of my classmates who were in here that I wanted to introduce, but they are not here right now. But so this time last year was, time for me was interesting because I was in the class, I graduated, and I was asked to interview with the new administration. And a lot of those contacts I made through Tax Watch. And my former boss and mentor, Paul Anderson, is here. And Paul was the one who told me to get involved in Tax Watch. He told me of the importance, the history of it, who was involved, the companies, the leaders, and what they did for the state of Florida. Whether it was trying to keep taxes low or advocating for causes that may not be popular at the time, but people have foresight and insight about what is best for the entire state of Florida. So I'll go through a few things today, and I'm trying not to use too many notes because I know usually around 3 o'clock every day I get bored and tired, and I have to take a walk around the office because I'm sleepy. But with that being said, this weekend was the FSU-UF game. And even though I'm a diehard Gator, I wore tailor-made Gator suits on game days. I have an orange suit, all blue, and then a blue suit. I mean, I diehard. I mean, tailor-made Gator suits. And with that being said, the impact of sports on our state is so important. I grew up a FSU fan. And the reason why I'm saying this is because even though I went to UF and I was happy about the win, anytime UF does well, FSU does well, UCF does well, that's free press for our state. Somebody who is in California or Massachusetts, a high-tax state, Connecticut, a high-tax and high-reg state, when people see that on TV, that may give somebody the inspiration to visit Florida, the inspiration to come to Florida, or the thought about why Florida is so uniquely different than any other state in the U.S. So, in my title, some call me president or CEO, some call me the Secretary of Commerce. But for those who may know my background or not, my major was in religion. I studied different faiths and different backgrounds. So you don't have to call me secretary or president, just call me Brother Florida, because I'm the one who's making the sale every single day. I'm the one who's out there telling people why Florida is so unique than any other place. So my brothers were preachers. We were raised to be pastors, and I got into college, and I didn't necessarily want to do that because I saw the drama behind the scene. So I always tell people why I appreciate that, I support it. But then I got a mentor who saw something in me, and that guy was named Paul Anderson, and he got me involved in politics with Jeb Bush and around the state of Florida. And now I use those same skills of growing up in Florida, being born and raised here, to make the sell about why Florida is special for businesses, but also why we're here at a unique time with a governor who was the first non-baby boomer governor, someone who thinks differently, someone who thinks outside the box. A perfect example of that was earlier, Eric said on the panel about the environment, he said, we take the partisanship away, when it comes to certain issues. And 20 years ago, for a Republican to talk about the environment was just almost taboo. This is something that you just don't talk about. But we have a governor now, a new generation, a new thought process who's doing things and telling us why it's so important to talk about the environment, because that's attached to business. When we have tourists come, when we have people who come for the good weather, we want to make sure that they have good beaches. We want to make sure that they have great environments, and also that allows us to promote our unemployment rate, to promote everything that we have that is special. So right now, as you see, the unemployment rate is low at 3.2%. Our economy has produced 228,000 net new jobs over the past year. 127 million visitors to Florida, spent an estimated $88.6 billion with us last year, and we had a record of 68.9 million visitors in the first 6 months of 2019. And I said that for a reason. We are really intertwined with Visit Florida. So when they are attacked, that impacts what I do. For us, we sell the state as the premier destination for business, but they sell the state as the premier destination for visitors and tourism. So many people, before they even start a business here, what they do, they come here for a vacation. As they come for a vacation, I get to then tell them all about the great things that the state of Florida has. And it excites me, but it does sadden me when Visit Florida gets attacked, because everywhere in the state is not like South Florida, not like Orlando or Tampa. I was born and raised in Orlando. My parents are from the backwoods of Florida. My dad's from Jasper, Florida, Hamilton County. My mom was born and raised in Lake County, and she was actually, but her family came from Jackson County. People places that people outside of the state may not hear about. And what Visit Florida does, what Enterprise Florida does, we market those parts of the state that tend to be forgotten, that tend to not be on the radar, like a Citrus County, where I was the other month. Like the other week, I spoke to Deerfield Beach, and I spoke to their chamber, and I saw Colin Brown there, and I was telling people, like, hey, there's more than Broward, Florida, than just Fort Lauderdale. So what we do, we tell about those stories, and we market Florida as the premier destination for business. And when Enterprise Florida gets attacked, or when Visit Florida gets attacked, it's not attacking us per se, it's attacking those small communities that tend to be forgotten for those outside of Florida, those in Pasco, and those in those areas that you may not hear about on TV. And that's what I really try to promote in regards to what we do. So, as you know, most Floridians believe Florida is headed in the right direction, according to a Florida Chamber survey. And for us, Florida has pursued a path towards economic diversity over the past 2 decades, and it shows. We have the second highest rate of new businesses who are created in the country, according to the U.S. Chamber. We are ranked number 3 among the states for high-tech establishments. We are ranked number 4 for attracting private equity investment. Someone who was here earlier was Kelly Smallridge, who's doing an amazing job here in Palm Beach County. Not only do we now have the president who is a resident, we have hedge funds, billionaires, and people as they come to leave Connecticut, come to leave New York, they know they have a place here in Florida. Now, here in Florida, I don't take sides. I tell people, well, we have everything to offer. I don't pick Tampa over Orlando or Pasco over Leon or Deerfield over Fort Lauderdale. It's my job to tell everybody the vastness and greatness of Florida. Because we are home to 505 general aviation airports, 19 commercial airports, and 2 spaceports, Cape Canaveral and Jacksonville Cecil Field. Florida is home to 20 major military installations and 3 unified combatant commands. And Florida has one of the most robust aviation networks in the world. So we constantly go to recruit aviation aerospace companies. We constantly go to recruit financial services companies, which is why we're gearing money towards fintech academies at colleges through the Job Growth Grant Fund. Gearing money to initiatives to help not only promote business here, such as aviation, aerospace, finance, healthcare, but also to make sure that we have the workers who can then fulfill those jobs. Last year, when Amazon was talking about relocating, they were talking about what they were looking for. It wasn't the incentives, it wasn't the packages, it was about did the communities have the talent for them, for their workforce. So we rank number 2 amongst states for aerospace products and parts manufacturing. We are home to over 470 companies working on everything from aircraft parts and assemblies to intelligence, surveillance, and maintenance. Florida's manufacturing base has grown at 3 times the national average over the past 3 years, due in part to our aviation and aerospace firms. And it goes without saying that we are sitting in the world's simulation and modeling epicenter right there in Orlando, right over there by UCF. So we are also seeking growth in our fintech sector. We have a strong financial services presence here in Florida, 152 commercial banks with $141 billion under management. 18 foreign banks have their North American headquarters here in Florida. And the reason why, because Florida serves as the gateway to the Latin Americas. If you go to South Florida, everybody wants to be in Florida because they have it as a gateway, not only for the ports, the exciting ports that we have, whether it's Tampa, Everglades, Miami, but everything is encompassing. So for us, not only do we have 229 private equity firms headquartered in our state, we are producing graduates for the financial services, graduates at the community colleges, now colleges at the state university systems. And to dig deeper into the fintech space, Governor DeSantis is working to remove barriers from emerging fintech firms, traditional banks, and investing firms seeking to branch into the technology space. So the other week, right before Thanksgiving, I went to Colombia with the lieutenant governor. Amazing trade missions where we matched businesses with companies. We talked to the embassy, and we were able to have those businesses from Florida get contracts with those businesses in Colombia and with their government. And it was just an amazing trip. And for us, even though I would say un poquito español, but everyone there was just excited that we were there because of the fact that we were now focusing on one of our 4th largest trading partners. So as we do that, we have the trips and everything. And for us, the governor had a trip, obviously, this past spring to Israel. And I spent a semester in Israel in college because, like I said, I wanted to be a pastor. So for us, going to Israel for me was amazing. I spent a semester there. And when we got back, there was so much good business there, so many deals made with the ports, with the airports, with Visit Florida was there, the AG was there, the CFO was there. I landed and said, Baruch Hashem. And that means thank God. Because I was just so excited about what happened in Israel. I was excited about the deals that were made. I was excited about what we were embarking upon because we have the most pro-Israel governor in the United States. He made that his mission to be for his first trade mission to go to Israel. And because of that, last year, goods valued at $153 billion flowed through Florida's airports and their seaports. Florida origin exports reaching $73.5 billion to 190 countries, making Florida a world leader in international trade. By the latest numbers we have, more than 58,000 Florida companies export. They use the 15 deepwater ports, 12,000 plus miles of highway, and nearly 3,000 miles of freight and rail track routes. So we are ranked number 7 in the nation for inland waterways. And why that's so important in terms of international trade, international commerce. As a child, because I was from Florida, everybody else was from somewhere else. Everybody was from somewhere different. So raise your hand if you were born in Florida. So that's not even half the room. And what makes that so unique is that Florida, about 33% of the state is from Florida. Everybody else pretty much is from transplants, the islands, the Midwest, but that makes Florida so unique. This governor now, the first governor in almost 25 years who was born in Florida, because Jeb Bush was not born in Florida. Charlie Crist was not born in Florida. Rick Scott was not born in Florida. That would never happen in Alabama. Alabama, you got to be an 8th generation Alabama. In Texas, 10th generation, and your parents have had to go to UT and Texas A&M, and you can't even be on the ballot if your great-grandparents weren't born there. That's just how it is in a lot of southern states. But that makes it so unique. You can come here and in a year have an idea, have a vision, have a plan to be great and be somebody without having to wait in line, without having to join the special country club, without having to have family and friends who who is trying to lobby for you. In Florida, you can come here with an idea, not having any connections, and be great and make jobs and create jobs. And that then helps families, that helps communities. So at Enterprise Florida, I brag about that. So when someone says, well, what's your relevance? Why are you so important? Over the past few years, you were attacked by the House and the Senate and everything. And those times I'm trying to turn the page from that. Because of that, Enterprise Florida was at a unique place, almost operating like a noun, but not a verb. But now we're trying to transition to now acting as a verb, which shows action and change as we go into the year of 2020. So I was in New York with the governor and Chicago. We have the best pitch for businesses, those new to Florida and those currently here thinking about expansion. More than 250,000 Floridians are employed in high-tech jobs. We talk about the cost of living, the fourth largest economy, or the third in the U.S., and the 17th or 18th in the world. But the important thing for the governor was the environment. He said the environment is so important for us because the environment allows us to tell people why we are so unique. When they come to visit, they don't want to see algae in the beach. They don't want to see the smog that you see in New York or the issue that you see in California. The environment is attached to business. So when the environment is good, that allows us to show, hey, you all need to leave places that try to say that they're better than us, but they're really not. California, a big competitor of ours. Texas, a big competitor of ours. Charlotte. And for us, the waterways and the environment is so important. So as I constantly tell the message, the first thing that the governor, we will walk into a meeting and we'll sit down with Jamie Dimon, who we talk with. We talk with Robin, the CEO of JetBlue. First, he'll talk about the court system, how he's changing the judiciary to make it a less litigious state. And that for him is so important when it comes to his judicial picks, when it comes to his those who pick the judges and the justices. And the second, he will then turn to the environment. Why that's so important? Because for him, again, it's attached to business, it's attached to families, it's even attached to your breathing and how our health is. So when people, as I said earlier, like Henry Flagler years ago, who wanted to come to Florida because of his wife's health, they come because of the environment, because of the great weather. And that's so important for us. So when Eric was talking earlier about the great work that they have been doing across the state, we're constantly selling that message as the salespeople for Florida, and as the governor at the head of that about why we are so special in today's world as we go into 2020. So we maintain a frugal state government budget. Our per capita state tax burden is the fourth lowest amongst all states. And I can say numbers for days about what we're doing in terms of our resiliency, the environment, the new administration, but it's so exciting. We even have a lieutenant governor who's actively engaged. For us, someone who is now overseeing healthcare, space Florida, now trade missions, I know over the past few years that may have been a bit foreign to some to see that engagement, but I know we have a lieutenant governor who's very engaged, and that is really connecting all the dots together. And what that means is that helps families. That helps families from Sopchoppy, Okeechobee. That helps families in rural Florida, especially the Panhandle, is now in a rebuilding phase. That helps us tell that story about how we have an administration who is excited about that. So for us, the governor has made it a goal for Florida to be the nation's leader in workforce development by the year 2030. And why that is so important for us is that we have the chair of the Florida Board of Education right here in the room, Marva. So for us, that conversation is constantly happening because without the workforce, it doesn't matter what incentives any state gives. Without the workforce or education, it doesn't matter any of that. But for us, the point of that is that education is the key to success. Education is the ultimate civil right. Education is the ultimate factor for companies when they are looking. And people will always say, well, you all just don't have the education in Florida that we want. And I'm like, well, tell me specifics about that. And that's just usually just a talking point that those in New York and Chicago give. But the past 20, 25 years, that has been a focus as Florida has increased, not only with the state university system or the college system, but our K through 12 system. So our biggest challenge is communicating the Florida superlatives that you just heard in boardrooms across the country and even the world. We want farms to know that Florida is a great place to vacation and even a better place to do business. So there is a story to tell, and we aim to tell that story. We aim to promote that story every single day. Because we have so many strengths in the people to meet the diversity here. People from all walks of life, whether you were born in New York, Connecticut, overseas, there's a niche for you here in Florida, and that helps our business. So with a visionary governor and a committed legislature, a lot of aspirational local partners who are here today, we want every Floridian and every community to be able to access those opportunities that make Florida the envy of the nation. It's very rare when I hear somebody who wants to retire in New York, who wants to retire in Boston. I just don't hear that. I went to grad school at UMass Amherst, and in UMass, I left Florida and went there in 2005, and someone said, "You left Florida for this?" And I was like, yeah. I was like, well, just for school for 2 years. And I never went back. I was like, well, yes, it was a good time and everything. Education was okay. But I said that Florida was the place to be. Florida was the place to be. And I even had the chance to live in California. Yes, it was great beaches, great mountains, but the cost of living, the taxes, I'm like, now I see why they call it the left coast, because it was off the grid left. But for me, I know that we were placed here at a certain time. And with the Florida being one of the best business tax climates, the personal income tax at 0, it's so important that we keep pushing why tourism is important. We keep pushing why economic development is important. So as we look towards the future, our goal is to diversify the economy, tell the story about why Florida is so unique, and let people know why we're special. So last point, back in college, I became a Republican a long time ago, and I was telling my peers, they was like, Jamal, like, why did you become a Republican? I don't get it. And actually, one of my fraternity brothers, Alan Williams, is here too. He's a bit older than me, even though we're like in the same fraternity. But we were talking, and I think I tell people the story, Jamal, like, you became a Republican. Why? I said, well, I know my father was in the military, business owner, very important to me. And I saw the trials he had to go through. And you'll understand once you start to buy a house, buy land, have a business. Because right now you may not understand, but I'm telling you, I get it. It's hard to be a conservative when you don't have anything to conserve. But to give it a few years, and you'll see the importance of business. You'll see the importance of what we do in Florida and why the legislature is so engaged with keeping us a pro-business environment, lower taxes, and just the chance for opportunity to grow. So as I end, as I said earlier, with my major being in religion, I talked with rabbis, priests, pastors, imams, just name it. I went to services as a kid and just to learn. And I learned that whether I was at the Hillel or whether I was talking with the Catholic priest, the best person was the shortest speaker. So thank you.